All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are at the Colonel Joe Kittinger Park here in Orlando, Florida. It's located right here at the Orlando Executive Airport. Today we're going to just take a walk around the park here and learn a little bit more about Joe Kittinger and really a lot more about the history that this place has to offer. Colonel Kittinger was a Florida native and a longtime Orlando resident. He pretty much did everything throughout his career, from test pilot to fighter pilot. He was credited with an enemy kill in Vietnam and even spent some time in the Hanoi Hilton as a POW. Oh, and he once successfully skydived from space. Well, not quite like that, but we'll talk about it a little bit more on our way to go see this jet on display. Early in his career, Colonel Kittinger was stationed at Holloman Air Force Base near White Sands in New Mexico. The sand really is white, by the way. I checked. It was at Holloman that he became associated with aviation medical pioneer Colonel John Paul Stapp. Stapp was working to understand the effects of gravitational forces on the human body, and his experiments were extreme. For example, in 1954, the colonel strapped himself to this rocket sled that accelerated to 632 miles per hour.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
So as the colonel rode the rails at Mach 1, it was Captain Joe Kittinger above him in his T-33 chase plane that monitored the event. Shortly afterward, Colonel Stapp recruited Kittinger as a test pilot for a series of projects and experiments through the remainder of the 1950s designed to understand the effects of space and space travel on the human body. So by 1958, he had become the test director for a series of experiments designed to test the feasibility of either an astronaut or a pilot bailing out at a high altitude in a parachute. Any guess what the project was called?
Yeah, Excelsior.
Well, that's right, actually.
Excelsior!
The idea behind Excelsior was pretty straightforward. You just pilot a hot air balloon up into space and jump out of it and see if you die, which almost happened on his first jump when his parachute malfunctioned. On August 16, 1960, having already completed 2 previous high-altitude jumps, he set a record for the longest free fall and also the highest parachute jump, and probably also broke the sound barrier. His world record free fall of 102,800 feet lasted for a record 4 minutes, 36 seconds. These records would remain in place until 2012 when he actually helped the Red Bull team break them. Kittinger actually continued high-altitude balloon experiments with the Air Force until 1963. So in 1963, with U.S. involvement in Vietnam starting to escalate, he joined a commando wing at Hurlburt Field up in the Panhandle here in Florida. He did 2 tours, flying missions in World War II vintage A-26s. And that'll get us all caught up to where we are now, looking at this F-4 here on display. So Joe Kittinger, now a lieutenant colonel, did his 3rd tour as vice commander of an F-4 wing in Vietnam. This jet has the markings of his squadron at the Royal Thai Air Force Base during Vietnam. And as we move up, we're going to see this red star here, and that represents his lone kill in Vietnam of a North Vietnamese MiG-21. On May 21st, 1972, just a few days shy of when he was scheduled to return home, Joe Kittinger was shot down by a MiG-21 himself and spent the next 11 months as a POW in the infamous Hanoi Hilton prisoner of war camp in North Vietnam. I'm not going to read this whole plaque. You can freeze it if you want to read it. But basically what it tells you is that Colonel Kittinger flew this exact F-4 on 5 different occasions. 4 of them were in combat out of his base in Thailand, as it appears on display here. He also flew it at RAF Lakenheath once during his career, and I just happened to find this public domain picture of this jet while it was actually being flown out of RAF Lakenheath. So before being brought here to the park here in Orlando, it was actually already being used as a static display at Navarro College in Texas. While there, it wore this Thunderbird paint scheme, but with a little help.
Tick, tick.
And now we see it as it would have appeared flying out of Udorn Royal Thai Air Force Base during the Vietnam War years. Okay, so once again, I'm not going to read this plaque, but it's just a list of donors, and just says that, this park, even though it's got Joe Kittinger's name on it, it belongs to all Vietnam veterans, and especially those in Central Florida. So it should be noted that there's a very strong veteran presence here in Central Florida, really in Florida in general, but especially here in Central Florida. And Colonel Kittinger was very concerned when he got back that, a lot of these veterans were not treated particularly well. To that end, he decided to use his considerable clout to really use this land on what actually used to be the Orlando Army Airfield during World War II to establish something to better recognize the sacrifices of the veterans of Central Florida. So these arrows in front of us just point in the direction and distance to all of Colonel Kittinger's duty station. So that kind of wraps up the kind of more historic section of the tour here of the park. Now we're going to get to the fun part. For those of you with small children, you can see there's a very nice little playground here. Really great view and a really great place to kind of just sit and watch airplanes land, as you just kind of saw in the distance there. You're not going to see any of the big planes like you would down to the south at Orlando International, but still a really good place to bring small children to kind of see the airplanes up close. Not going to be too loud, so it's going to be actually pretty enjoyable for the whole family. As we walk in here, we're going to see this little picnic area. Have a little look around here, kind of looking back, but you can see this picnic area behind me that we're going to come on here, so we get a good look at the view this park has to offer. You can see the speaker box right there. Usually that's on, and you can actually listen to the tower as airplanes land. And just like that, we see one coming in here for a landing. Let's see how he does. Looks pretty good. If you came here to look for big jets like airliners, you're going to be a little disappointed. This image right here is about as close as you're going to get to them. You'll definitely see plenty of corporate jets. And due to the airport's proximity to downtown and the numerous flight schools located at the airport, you will see plenty of Cessna traffic. During certain sporting events, you might actually even see the Goodyear blimp parked here. So that's pretty much all the high points. As we turn here to keep walking, that'll finish the loop. And a nice little under 10-minute tour of who Joe Kittinger was and everything that this park has to offer. And if you stayed with us the whole time, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.